Welcome to the August 6, 2024 meeting of the Fall River Redevelopment Authority. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recording and transmission are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Roll call, John Erickson.
Louis Gonzalez, present.
Ron Rusin.
Joan Maderas.
Also attending, Sarah Page, Executive Director, John Coughlin, Legal Counsel, Kenny Fiola, Administrative Consultant, and Karen Martin, Project Manager. First item is approval of our open session minutes from June 26th.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Louis Gonzalez, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Joan Maderas, yes.
Jane King, yes.
Thank you. The August warrant that you folks have is for a total of $122,858.85. Any questions on that? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the August warrant of $122,858.85.
Second?
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Louis Gonzalez, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Joan Maderas, yes.
Jane King, yes.
Thank you. Karen's going to speak about 2501 South Main.
2501 South Main. At the end of July, we received a check from the school department, which paid off the remainder of the lease amount for the term of the lease. And the one thing to note that was included in that was a double payment of an invoice. And so I have a check tonight that I'm going to ask that you sign so that we can reimburse. It's just for $3,012.44. And I'll put it on the next warrant, but if we could sign it tonight. They just have to pay an invoice. But they are paid through the term of their lease now, so just let you know that.
Good. Karen, you want to give us an update on the FY 2023 audit?
Yes, the FY 2023 audit is we're probably more than halfway through with all the data and the back and forth with the auditors. I know, Joan, you spoke with them. I've spoken with them. Sarah still needs to speak with Kelsey. And then we're just responding to some final questions, and then we'll be hopefully wrapping it up. By the end of this week, we'll get all the responses into them. And then we're just waiting to get, actually, I'm hoping that should be imminently coming, is the audit of the pension board's fiscal year numbers, so that gets rolled into our audit too, and then hopefully we'll get things wrapped up with that by the end of this month. So we should get hopefully a report by then.
Right.
So we are chugging along with that.
Nice. Norton City Pier operations.
Okay, so things are actually, the pier's looking really good, if I do say so. We did get the posts in for the fire extinguishers on the dock, and those have been installed, and the fire extinguishers themselves have been mounted on those new posts. Looks actually pretty sharp. So now we won't have any issues with the tide. It can go as high or low as it wants, and not to impact the fire extinguishers. The next big event out there, this month we have Females in Action doing 2 days. They do Saturday mornings and Wednesday evenings, different exercise classes out there. And then the Narrows concert is their big event on August 24th. I met with Patrick out there beginning of last week, and just ran through some logistics stuff. They are definitely having a bigger stage, the bigger name bands, and I'm really hoping for a larger crowd. And they're actually also having a, I guess, arts and crafts vendors on the South Pier, and then there'll be food trucks and I think a beer tent and a liquor tent. So he's really looking forward to a large turnout this year. So, and that's the 24th, Saturday the 24th, and then Friday the 23rd, we have the last food truck Friday nights. They've the two that we've had so far have gone over well. The first one was probably more steadily attended than the second one, but all the trucks seem to sell out, so that's good. So I think maybe over the 4 hours it might be a little too long. We might shorten the time frame next year. I don't know. We're gonna think about that some, but so they've been fairly well received.
So the trucks actually run out of food?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've sold out everything that
At
they
the very
brought.
end.
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
very,
But they're happy.
yeah.
Good.
Do you have entertainment at those?
No, we didn't, we weren't sure how they, and, you know, we could, but that's the thing, we need to probably regroup and see if we're gonna have entertainment and not next year, and if we're gonna continue to do it.
The other challenge that we have with those is that when the city has had big events and had food trucks, they've brought tables and chairs and put them out on the pavement, on the driveway. And when we're doing it with just these food trucks, people are having to sit on curbs, or they bring their own chairs, and some have brought whole families and,
Yeah.
you know, blankets and things, but a lot of people are kind of sitting on grass or curbs, and, you know, that's not ideal, and there's not an easy answer for it. You know, we've talked about, do we need to add tables
Did you
somehow?
ask the city?
Hmm?
Did you ask the city?
To bring the tables out more often?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a really big hassle for them and staff time.
I would, I think that it's an important component of the overall waterfront experience. I think, speaking to the mayor, that'd probably be a great, I can't speak on behalf of them, but I would think they'd be maybe agreeable.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that was gonna be
I
part of the
agree. I mean,
discussion.
They may charge us something for it, but I think that it's an amenity we should have, and if the city has the equipment,
Yep.
I think that's the most logical route to go.
Yeah, I think we were gonna regroup as to, you know, do we wanna bring out the entertainment? Do we wanna do the chairs and tables next year and things like that? So I think that, this was just to see if there was gonna be any interest.
Right.
The other thing next year too will probably be parking, because I don't know if we'll get that lot also. That'll be another concern, so.
And then find out how expensive they are. There's companies that, I remember I used to have a party at my house, I'd have 100, 200 people there, and we'd get tables and chairs. The chairs were like $5 for 2 days, and even if you have 100 chairs, it's only 500, and then tables were like $10 each. If you have 10 tables, it's really not that expensive. It's only a few $100s.
That you gotta store them
No, I'm
Yeah.
saying, no, but they come back and they pick them up,
at the same day.
the day after.
Yeah, so that's the problem, is how do we secure them in that?
But we've
Okay,
had
yeah.
that, we've had chairs and tables left a few times and never
Oh,
anything
good.
touched.
We chain them, and the city does it.
Yeah.
We chain them and lock them.
Okay.
And then they have it's their chain and lock, so they have the key to it. That's what they do. So, we would have to, they do it right around the,
Well, you see, if it's 4 to 8, they may come back up the same night.
yeah, I mean, we'd have to look
Yeah.
at it. That's all the stuff we're gonna like hammer out details and see what we wanna do for next year. So.
Especially if somebody's gonna do, hire them 3 or 4 times, they may be very interested in that.
Mm, absolutely.
So that kind of raises the question of, earlier this year, we talked about the fact that the city has been picking up the cost of entertainment and really the cost of the events and using their event planner. And so we really had made the point that we weren't in the business of, you know, paying for bands and paying for a lot of things to have events on City Pier, that wasn't a role that the Redevelopment Authority wanted to play. It sounds as though people are revisiting that, and so we may really want to have a conversation about that. Because that's been our sense of our marching orders, was that if the city was doing it, great, but that we weren't trying to extend ourselves in that way.
Let's try to get them to do as much as they can, and then we'll talk about the rest of it.
I think that what we are gonna get faced with is people who want to rent City Pier for
Yes.
events. And that's the thing that we are gonna have to address because we own it.
I know,
So that really needs to be something that we start to think about.
yeah.
Didn't we get a couple of requests on that?
Yeah, we've got a couple.
But you know, our event committee that you're on had said, before we have really gotten our feet wet having events there, we shouldn't try to be renting to weddings and getting into all of that. And you're talking about needing somebody who's, you know, I don't think Karen and I feel like we can become event managers as well. And, you know, what works with the city is they have a full-time event planner, and she really manages the events. If we're going to get into weddings and things, we have to figure out who's going to interact with, or even civic organizations, who's going to interact with them, who's going to do, all of the planning
But
process.
couldn't we sub out the same person that's doing it for the city?
And just charge them, we want so much for them to rent the space, and then they make the rest of the money on the rest of the deal.
Like, we would
Just
just-
let them run it, not us run
If
it.
she's an event.
I don't want you guys to run it, that's not my goal.
Full-time with the city.
Right, so, but wouldn't we use her? Why would we use
That's
anyone?
Samantha, right?
Yeah, I just don't know if she's got the time to take on more events, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I just think that
Yeah.
a wedding over there would be amazing. I just don't know how that would work. You know what I mean? Taking up time from the public.
I think
But it
we
would be a
should-
nice
we should
wedding.
maybe investigate event planners and maybe have a list with 2 or 3 that we feel very comfortable with and would feel okay with having them run an event here. So I think these are things we need to.
We do.
Probably
Yeah.
investigate over the winter so
Yep.
that we have a game plan.
Sounds good.
There's probably companies that do that for a living,
Yeah,
and let them, we just get paid a
absolutely.
little slice of the pie. But we have no liabilities, we have to make sure that we're held
Oh,
no
yeah.
liable.
Oh, yeah.
But that,
Oh, yeah.
you could definitely rent that for
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Doesn't Peak do that in Newport? You know, that company?
They rent tents. They rent tension
They
and
they
chairs.
might do events though.
They might do it.
Some of them have
think they do, yeah.
coordinators, yeah.
There's plenty of event planners around.
I have to tell you guys, I sat out at City Pier Saturday morning, and it was just magnificent, and everything looks so beautiful right now.
Right,
It's
yes.
just, it was a very humbling moment to sit there and see what it has become.
Mhm.
You know?
Compared to one of that.
And gratifying.
Yes.
Isn't it
Yeah.
exciting to be
Yeah,
out there
it is
and
nice.
think,
Yeah.
this
We-
was a sand.
We did the whole walk from the carousel down to the thing, me and my wife went back, and we
Yeah.
did the whole pier. That adds quite a bit of a walk
Does.
onto the, it's probably
I know.
another quarter mile
Yeah.
added onto
Oh, yeah.
the walk, 'cause,
0.3
I think,
miles.
yeah, I think
Was
it's a
that?
third of a
Point
mile.
three.
It's a third of a
0.3
mile.
miles on it, yeah. Because I think it was 1.25 each way, if I remember right. So if you do it twice, that's 3 miles now from the carousel down to there.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm glad you got to do that.
yeah, it was nice.
You know what I was wondering too? I mean, I don't know if they have one over there, but if we had the little box with like doggy bags.
They're there. They're on.
Yeah.
They're all tied up there already.
Okay.
I walked down there. I seen like 6 of them in different areas, locations
Oh,
along
when I
the
went
boardwalk.
earlier this year, I didn't see it.
Yeah, there's one post right like in the middle of the halfway around the circular drive. It's
Mm.
got a box on it with 2
And
holes.
there was no graffiti. There was no dirty poops on
Oh,
any of the
fingers
drive, the whole
crossed.
walkway. There was no fish guts. There was nothing. It was just, it looked nice. It was very clean. And there was actually 2 people sitting on the dock with their feet in the water. They were just sitting out there when we walked by.
Nice.
Speaking of environmental closeout.
Just following up from last month, the concern from National Grid has been resolved. Their installation is all above the cap, so if they ever needed to get access to their line, they would not have to do a soil mitigation plan. Joe confirmed with the EPA that everything he's got in the AUL is worded fine and is okay as is, and so he's gonna wrap everything up and get it into the state by the end of this month. So that'll be the permanent solution, will be filed by the end of this month, so we should be in good shape with that.
Cathodic.
And then cathodic protection. So cathodic protection, is now known as RFP number 25-05. It went out to the public on July 26th, and bids are due on August 29th. And the idea would be we'd bring to the September board meeting whoever we feel is the best proposer, and look for board approval then. We had a pre-proposal site meeting today at 9 o'clock out at the site, and we wrapped it all up just before the rain started. It was nice timing.
How many
Um,
vendors came?
What was that?
How many showed up?
There were 3, and they were 3 reliable vendors. They were 3 legit companies. There's 17 companies that pulled the RFP, of which, there's a couple of marketing companies in there and so forth, but there's probably a handful of legitimate proposers on the list. So hopefully we'll get some good proposals. So looking forward to that.
Northfield and the mooring field?
Northfield Point is chugging along. Highland Fence did their work. We put in the 2 new gates so that we can get access out there, and then we blocked off the end so people can't just walk out there. We have a padlock on the gate, so it's pretty secure right now. The topo survey was completed, and the test pits are scheduled for a little bit later this month, but he's hoping to get out there sooner. He's gonna keep me posted on that. And we're trying to schedule a meeting now to go over some initial design, just kind of where they're at. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have some ideas to show. So that's kind of chugging along.
The next item, Sarah's going to talk about the grant proposal requiring matching funds.
So I've been working on a proposal for a boating infrastructure grant from the Fish and Wildlife of Massachusetts that goes into a federal grant program. And we're applying, what we've come up with working with them is to apply for $300,000, which would require a $100,000 match. And part of why I ended up with this grant program is that Ellen Sabula at the Seaport Economic Council, the last time I talked with her about the grant that we have now, she had said, well, you know, she understands we'll be coming to them for a grant to implement the design work that they're funding us to do now. And she said, you know, you can go to this boating infrastructure program and get funds for some of the things that we're designing. And it was kind of clear that she was saying, instead of coming back to the Seaport Council for things, you really should go to this other source, which makes sense. So I'm applying for the development of a dinghy dock and some of the mooring fields. And the more I got into it, the more complicated it got. And I'll just give you a few of the details. Basically, this grant is designed to support vessels that are at least 26 feet long and are presumably traveling up and down the eastern seaboard and need places to stop to spend a couple of nights, or up to 15 days is what the grant expects. And you need to be able to show that they can get groceries and provisions within a reasonable distance from your mooring area. And you really have to describe why there's a need for this and what brings people to your city. So I talked about the fact that with Route 79 coming down and all that development, there's just going to be so much more to draw people to. But we have a long list of the things that people can come to now. And so I've been working along on that, and I at first thought we were just applying for the dinghy dock, but it turns out one other piece is that you have to justify asking to build a dinghy dock with showing that you have enough moorings to use the dinghy dock. And so we don't yet have the mooring fields that would use it, but you can't build mooring fields without having a dinghy dock. So what we've come up with is that we could, if we apply for $300,000 and we match it with the 25% required of $100,000, we could construct both the dinghy dock and install 18 moorings. And the mooring fields are being designed by Beta and GEI, who's working with them on it. And I at first thought that we were going to ask for less and ask for slightly less of a match. But I'm hoping that the board will agree to fund this $100,000 so that we can really push forward on the mooring field and the dinghy dock.
So is it 25% of the 300?
Yeah,
That'd only be
That's
75,000.
only 75,000.
Yeah, you're doing 33% if you do 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're thinking,
Is it a third?
Or is it
They're thinking out of
That's a
400,
third.
400,000,
Yeah, that's
it would be
100 is a third, that's
25%.
all.
yeah, they were thinking I would have to do.
If it was 400,000, then it'd be 100,000.
Well, that's the
25%.
thing. Okay, that's kind of where we're going. We're saying we need 400,000.
Yeah.
300,000 is the dinghy dock.
Yeah.
And 100,000 is the moorings.
Yeah.
And so that's a $400,000
Oh.
Project.
proposal,
Yeah.
100,000 of which we would need to fund.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve matching funds of up to $100,000 in order to apply for the BIG, which stands for Boating Infrastructure Grant.
Yep.
Mhm.
Federal grant for the new dinghy dock at Norton City Pier.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
John Erickson, yes?
Louis Condos, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Joan Maderos, yes.
Thank you. Next item is Pleasant Street, Flint, Earp.
Erp. So, the big project related to this over the last month was preparing for and having a public open house with MIPA. So MIPA got back to us after having submitted all of the documentation that we needed to apply for our MIPA certificate. And they contacted us and said, oh, in a couple of weeks, why don't we do this virtual meeting? And so Karen had to jump to get interpreters, which we didn't actually need, but she had them all lined up. And only 2 people came to this virtual meeting, which was someone we work with, Sam Haynes from the Coastal Zone Management, and he was asking questions, and because there's no coast involved in the Flint neighborhood, I don't think that he felt like he needed to do much, but he's really interested in engaging in Fall River, so that's why I think he was on. And state agencies that are working with you are supposed to kind of come to this potentially. And so the other person who came was from our regional planning agency, SERPED, and he was asking about transportation and how we were dealing with transportation issues. And the MIPA person asked a lot of questions, and they were all answerable. Ty and Bond, who had submitted the MIPA documents for us, did a nice little presentation. We worked on a PowerPoint with them. So that went well, and we just got the MIPA certificate yesterday, and it's super long, and none of us have looked at it yet. And I'm going to send it to you, and we're setting up a meeting with our consultants next Thursday for an hour to go through it after they've really analyzed it and figure out what they're saying we need to do for the EIR, which is the Environmental Impact Report, which we now will have to do. And so we'll see what that involves. And we typically would have a little team meeting tomorrow night at 4:00, but we decided to cancel it because we don't have anything to report, and we need to spend hours analyzing all this before we're really ready to discuss it. So if it seems important to discuss, we may set up another meeting. If we're being asked to do impossible amounts of more paperwork and analysis and things, we're going to want to talk about that and figure out how to deal with it. But hopefully that isn't the case. Any questions about that?
You want to talk about Duval Street Community Outreach?
Yep. So, so we thought we were having our first real public meeting with the community next Thursday, and we're all set to advertise it. And you sent an email today that I haven't talked with you about.
Yeah, so I think the question is, and sorry for the late email. Do we want to brief the council and a legislative delegation before it goes to a public meeting?
So we had thought we were going to brief the delegation back in July.
Right.
And we made many overtures to Senator Rodriguez, who, when I met with him a few weeks ago, said, oh, when the budget's over, I'll be willing to call a meeting of the delegation sometime in August. And so we know that's coming. I also thought that we didn't think we needed to brief the city councilors before we did this, but that we were going to commit to offer them to have private sessions with a few of them at a time.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of whatever you perceive the proper protocol to be. Yeah, I don't think there's people may get mad that they're briefed after the fact, but if we're already scheduled for next week, then maybe we should just stick, or try to get maybe the delegation between now and next week, or the city council.
Well, it's probably not gonna, I mean, we have plenty of time, don't we? Seems like we wouldn't have to rush.
Well, I
Yes.
feel like we're a month and a half behind in having an outreach meeting. I mean, maybe not as that bad, but, we've been planning and planning, and we're getting far along, and we haven't opened it up to the public yet. And so Ken, you had known we were planning it for next week, right? But
Then I forgot that we haven't briefed the other parties yet, right?
yeah, I didn't think we thought we needed to brief city councilors separately, that we were going to invite them and invite them to have special meetings with us.
What if we ask them to go an hour before that meeting, we meet with them first, and then we bring it to the public? This way, at least you offer it to them.
It's all about, I think it's all about scheduling, right?
Yeah.
Now, the delegation is a little more difficult. We were trying, the whole strategy that everyone agreed to was that we should ask Senator Rodriguez to kind of be the facilitator of it. And he's now agreed to do that, but we haven't had that yet. So, on one level, it wouldn't break my heart at all to not have it next Thursday, have more time to do outreach and all of that. But I also feel like we're supposed to be, originally, we planned to be done with this whole process in September. And it's complicated and it's lagging a bit, and we know that we need to
Well,
renegotiate.
I don't think it's the community briefings that are holding it up.
No, it
No.
isn't.
So I
No.
think we're probably gonna be
We're gonna have to extend it for
extended, so
sure.
it's not the community briefings that's holding that up. So maybe if we extend it by another week or so, that gives us time to try to at least convene these meetings prior to, just as a courtesy to the elected officials.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea.
I don't think we've been briefed enough.
No, we haven't.
I don't think we've been briefed enough as a
Yeah,
team
and I think
here.
we should
Like, I
probably-
know, I'm assuming that you met with people that were of the public. You said you were meeting a bunch of people that,
We had stakeholder
John-
meetings.
I've not heard about any stakeholders meeting yet. I've not gotten one email on it. I've not,
You're
so I don't know
not-
what
You're
happened.
not part of it.
But wouldn't we get briefed on it? So
Yeah,
we know
we
if we're
should.
going for a public
Yeah, we
meeting,
should.
I like to know what happened behind
Yeah,
closed
of course.
doors.
Right, no, I think, but there's an issue of open meeting law, so maybe you set up a couple of people to meet with Sarah, just to
Yeah.
go over it, myself and Karen, as, so that we can't have three, we can have two and one, or whatever.
Or can we do it at a meeting
So we're doing
with all of
two
us?
and two?
Wow,
Can we do it at a meeting with all of us?
It's
But
an
then
open-
it
that's
would
an
be
open
public.
meeting.
You have to announce that you're gonna do it.
Yes, and then it becomes public.
Yeah. Okay.
This is still a work in progress, so
Yeah.
what the purpose of these meetings is to take everybody's input and comments,
Yeah.
and then ultimately, when the final plan is revealed, it's inclusive of those comments. So maybe set up briefings for the redevelopment authority members between now and a couple of weeks and do it that way.
And then,
Does Stantec don't they already have a schedule of certain dates for the outreach meetings?
just this upcoming one, and scheduling with them is really difficult.
I thought there was
So-
several set up, but I couldn't.
How do they,
So-
how do
so
they
should we push
market
the-
it?
So
Well,
should
we
push
were
their date
marketing
back?
it, we had a flyer
Backwards?
all set to go and a whole plan to
push their
get it
date
out
backwards
to
and go
everywhere
backwards from
tomorrow, so,
Also, it hasn't even been brought out yet then.
no.
Also, nobody knows about it then,
Nobody
so
knows, right.
this is the time, if you're gonna change it,
Yeah,
this is when
we're
you wanna
gonna
change
change
it.
it, tonight
Yeah.
is the time to do that.
Yep,
Right, so
so
should,
it needs to, you need to regroup on this.
Yep,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Nobody's
agree.
seen this.
Yeah.
no,
I just seen it in one of my packages. I know I looked at the thing, so I was wondering if it's already been out to everybody.
no, and we were redesigning that, we thought that looked very drab, and so this was the new one.
that's the new one?
Yeah.
What?
More colorful.
I like that one better than that one.
This one's kind of weird.
Got plenty of time to decide.
Now you got 2 weeks.
Yeah, two
Well,
weeks.
we feel like
It says
putting,
public open house.
this is
Wall Street
going
Master
to,
Plan.
onto bulletin boards all over town, and, that just seemed, that really came off of a PowerPoint slide that was the introduction to the PowerPoint, and it's a very formal one, but it's not really what you put in your little grocery store and try to invite people to come out.
If you put color on that, just the way it's approached by, says the Wall Street Corridor Master Plan, you say public open house, I'm thinking open house, I walk right by it.
Exactly. I was
The-
just gonna say
and
the
the-
same thing, I would flip that.
The
because
color,
public
color
open
layout
house,
on
really?
there is, looks like it's from Sesame Street,
Yeah,
but.
I wasn't, you should have seen the earlier versions that I got.
We're wasting valuable
Because we're
time.
marketing people.
Can we move on?
You need a graphic designer,
Yeah,
or an architect or something.
something that's gonna catch their attention so they can see it.
It's not working 12 to 14
Yeah.
hour days right now.
What?
What's that?
An architect that's not working 12 to 14 hour days right now.
Well,
And
Stan Tech is supposed to know how to do
Yeah, but
outreach.
we got a few weeks to figure it out, so.
Okay, fine.
So are we gonna get a date from Stan Tech, and then we're gonna
We'll get a new date.
Well, I
go
think
backwards
there's,
from there?
I think there's gonna be a briefing of the redevelopment,
Yep.
so that's the one you need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if we get briefed with the city
City
councilors
council, right.
and the, at the same
I
time.
think
Well, they
everybody
have
should
the
be briefed
same, yeah.
separately.
Yeah.
They have the same open meeting.
Oh, everybody's gonna be briefed separately?
Yeah, no, like, cause the city council, you can only maximum brief 3 at a time.
Same laws
They've got the
apply.
same- they've got
Oh,
the same
okay.
open
But
meeting.
then you
So we
could
can't do
have,
every
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
you could have our folks there, it's two separate
Two
boards.
separate boards, yeah.
So you could have two of you,
mix.
Yeah, if you wanna meet with the city
Yeah.
council,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Why,
right.
yeah.
If I knew the master plan, I'd be able to tell them. I can't brief them on something I don't know.
No,
Doesn't
but
exist
at the
yet.
At the
briefing.
Yeah,
briefing.
yeah, at the briefing, yeah,
Yeah, she could have
yeah.
two of us.
Two
do
of-
that
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay,
And
yeah.
not have to. do
What about
anything.
open meeting laws? Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
okay.
it's just information session.
Yeah.
If there's no further matters for the open session, Chair makes a finding that open session would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The purpose of the executive session is to approve the executive session minutes from June 26, 24, discuss strategy with respect to potential real estate transactions for properties located at Assessor Map 22, Lot 9 on Duval Street, the corner of Turner Street, 45 Anawan Street, and at the Duval Street corridor related to the master plan. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session and not return to open session.
Motion to move to executive session?
Second,
Gibson, yes?
Louis Condos, yes.
Ron Rushin, yes?
Joan Maderas, yes.
Thank you.